as John Donvan reports.
Good soil, this is a little dry, but good soil, when you squeeze it.
Most of the time when you hear that so-and-so likes to get his hands dirty, it's a metaphor.
It's got a nice smell.
Smells like dirt.
This is Michael Pollan, a revolutionary of sorts who is fighting at the edge and in the dirt of the food frontier. He's written a book, In Defense of Food, an Eater's Manifesto, which maintains that all the nutritional science and pieces of dietary advice we've been hearing for decades have gotten us thinking about food in ways that are actually bad for us.
You can divide the world into good and evil nutrients. So at every given moment in American dietary history, there is an evil nutrient, a satanic nutrient we're trying to drive from the food supply. You know, it was saturated fat for a while, it's trans fats now. And then on the other side, there's a blessed nutrient that if you would only get enough of that in your system, you would be healthy and live forever. And now it's the omega-3 fatty acid, which is showing up in every product. You know, it's even in the orange juice and yogurt. Somehow they're getting this fish fat into these products.
One of Pollan's rules is don't eat anything your great-grandmother wouldn't recognize.
Mom, the authority of mom, right, the holders of culture when it comes to food, have been undermined by both the scientists and the food marketers. Maybe I'll take some chops.
Some loin chops?
Yeah, those look good.
He says our old family recipes evolved the way they did for a reason. Over the centuries, they have proven to keep people alive and healthy. But now he says we've been scared off from the old ways by all this focus on nutrients, things with names like riboflavin and niacin and thiamine, with percentages and grams printed right next to them on the side of your cereal boxes.
If the nutrient is the important unit, and ordinary mortals like us can't actually see nutrients or smell them or taste them, only scientists with their microscopes can actually experience a nutrient. We need experts to tell us how to eat.
Butter. Here, parquet margarine. Butter.
The problem with that being that sometimes scientists are not working with all the information they need.
Butter.
Oh, she's here.
All right, I'll taste you. Hey, you're really light, creamy. You're butter. Parquet.
Oh.
I grew up eating margarine. My mother, even though she knew better at some level, put margarine on the table. And the whole time she was doing it, and she was doing it because there was this public health campaign, you know, avoid saturated fat. And you had the margarine makers going on about the health benefits, you know, the health claims for their margarine. We replaced a possibly mildly unhealthy fat called saturated fat in butter with what has turned out to be a demonstrably lethal fat, trans fats, in margarine. So the modern history of food is one case like that after another.
And so to avoid the margarine effect, Pollan has developed what sounds like a very simple summary of everything he thinks you really need to know about what to eat. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. But here's the catch. He says that what Americans eat, much of the time, perhaps most of the time, it isn't actually food. So what does he think we're eating?
There is food, and there is what I call edible food-like substances. These are things we invented in the last 50 years or so that you know, smell like food, taste like food, look like food, but they're very different than the kinds of things people ate 100 years ago.
So it's the edible equivalent of waxed fruit, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly right. So I come up with some rules to help you distinguish the food from the edible food-like products.
First is that one about not eating anything that great-grandma wouldn't recognize. Well, what exactly does that mean?
You know, if she picked up a box of Go-Gurt portable yogurt tubes, would she recognize this? I don't think she would.
The second, stay away from the middle of the supermarket.
It's on the peripheries where the food that has been least fiddled with in the last 75 years is found. Mm-hmm. So the, you know, the fresh fruits and vegetables, the meat, the fish, the dairy products. And in the middle is where you get all the kind of imperishable processed foods. So if you do most of your shopping around the edge, you're not going to get into trouble and you're going to eat real food.
Pollan's rules are actually more mom than marketer.
Hostess Twinkies give your child energy to go on, plus protein to grow on. Hostess Twinkies supply whole egg protein for rich red blood, milk protein for strong muscles, plus carbohydrates and selected flours for important food energy.
This is not food, by my definition.
It's not food?
No. You know, historically, cakes go bad after a while. You know, I bought this in 2006, and it hasn't gone bad yet. It's as soft as the day I bought it. That's not food. Avoid foods that make health claims. which sounds kind of counterintuitive. But in fact, the healthiest food in the supermarket is the silent food over in the produce section. In order to make a health claim on food, first you need a package to put the health claim on. So already you're in the realm of processed packaged food. Second, you need a big corporation behind you to do the science to justify the health claim and get it through the FDA. So you have things like, you know, whole grain, heart healthy Cocoa Puffs. You know, you have Frito-Lay is putting health claims on some of its chips.
You saying those claims are a lie?
No, I'm saying that the standards are incredibly low.
Well, not here, Pollan says, at the organic farm, where he thinks the answer is to be found in food that comes out of the earth and in that form onto your dinner table. Food that will rot, food that has not been fiddled with.
To grow food this way, organically, takes just a lot more labor.
Pollan claims it's still a tricky thing to find this kind of food in the typical American supermarket because though you can find fruits and vegetables and meat and milk,
by and large, soil on an industrial farm is something to hold the plants up. It anchors them, and it's a medium through which you feed the plants chemicals.
The chemicals that you bring in.
Yeah, but the soil itself is no longer a living thing. And it'll get the job done, it'll grow the food, but it's not going to taste as good and it's not going to be as nutritious.
Pollan told us about a study that showed that to get the nutrients available from an apple marketed in 1943, you would have to eat 3 of today's apples. And so he says, buy organic.
You think the average person can afford to eat well, to eat food, as opposed to...
You know, it's a problem. Real food costs more than edible food-like substances, by and large. You can do it, but it will either take, if you don't have the money, you're going to have to put more time in. I think we need to begin to spend more on food, both in terms of money and time. I know that's not a popular message. People like their convenience food. But this experiment of outsourcing our food preparation to corporations has failed us. I mean, it's left us really unhealthy and really unsatisfied. And I think it's undermined family life and undermined community.
Pollan says that the high cost of cheap food, or what he broadly refers to as the Western diet, is basically complicating what should be a very simple thing.
I can buy a pound of rolled oats for 89 cents organic in my market. So the way to make money is to sell, say, something like Cheerios. Take those rolled oats, give them a little shape, give them a brand. Suddenly you're charging $4 for even less than a pound of rolled oats. That's good money. You make money in the processing, the value added. And then you make even more money if you take those Cheerios, because then that becomes a commodity, because then all the store brands start making their own Cheerio-like oatmeal cereal. You make a Honey Nut Cheerio cereal bar with a little layer of synthetic milk. You've seen these in the store. This is the latest way to sell cereal. That's even better. Then you're charging $10, $15 for a little thing of oats.
So you complicate food, but you simplify the
process of preparation.
For the consumer, doesn't have to.
That's what you're selling. You're selling novelty and convenience.
You're kind of a celebrity here.
As much as Pollan laments the influence of food marketers and scientists and so-called experts, he really looks to us, the eaters, to defend what he calls food. I'm John Donvan for Nightline in Berkeley, California.